Hello and welcome to Warp Factor Unknown, the podcast where we delve into the world of Star Trek for an unpredictable rewatch and discussion. I'm your host Dan, and joining me today is the seeker of the final frontier, Tom.
Greetings everyone, nice to be here.
Today's random episode is from Star Trek The Original Series, Season 3, Episode 5, Is There, in Truth, No Beauty? What a name. And before we kick off our discussion, we're doing, as always, our episode rundown. So I'm going to pass you over to Tom, who's going to give you this breakdown. Tom. Smooth as always.
Yeah. The USS Enterprise is assigned to transport Kolos, a member of the Medusan species known for their advanced navigational abilities. Medusans are non-corporeal beings whose appearance is so alien and ugly that it drives humans insane if they see them. Kolos is accompanied by Dr. Miranda Jones, a human telepath who has been specially trained on Vulcan to communicate with the Medusans. The episode begins with the arrival of Dr. Jones and Kolos aboard the Enterprise. Spock greets the guests while wearing a special visor so as not to become insane. Dr. Jones is revealed to have unrequited feelings for Kolos and is protective of her position as his interpreter. There is tension between Dr. Jones and Spock, who also has telepathic abilities and shows interest in the Medusan. The plot thickens when Larry Marvick, one of the engineers who designed the Enterprise and is secretly in love with Dr. Jones, attempts to kill Kolos out of jealousy. Marvick looks at Kolos and goes insane, hijacking the Enterprise and sending it hurtling out of the galaxy. The crew must work quickly to regain control. Kirk attempts to distract Dr. Jones, while Spock performs a mind meld with Kolos. When she discovers the plan, she tries to argue that she should be the one to pilot the ship back to safety. However, in a surprising reveal that she is in fact blind, Kirk orders Spock to continue. Spock performs a mind meld with Kolos and successfully brings the Enterprise back on course. However, in the process, Spock accidentally exposes himself to Kolos's true form and goes insane. Dr. Jones then uses her telepathic skills to restore Spock's mind, showcasing her abilities and resolving her inner conflict.
Wonderful as always. Fantastic. I did almost crack up when you said Spock exposes himself.
I put emphasis on it as well. So
it was right just at the wrong spot. Obviously, there's a comma or something in the wrong place. Almost ruined the entire read. But no, we're keeping it. That's great.
Definitely.
That's fantastic. The very first thing that I noticed when I came to this episode, and the first thing I want to talk about, I don't think you clocked it on the watch. Miranda Jones, the actress. Do you know who she is?
No.
I promise you do. Her name is Diana Muldaur.
Okay.
Cast your mind to another Star Trek show. She plays another character.
Next Gen?
Next Gen,
okay.
I'll narrow it down a bit more. Season 2.
Yes.
Ring any bells? No?
She's not in Measure of a Man, is she? That episode with...
I believe she would be. She's Dr. Pulaski.
Is she?
Isn't she just?
I did not realise.
Did you not? The second it came on, I was like, I know this voice.
Wow, no, yeah, that's amazing. I did not picture that for a second.
Isn't that great? Don't think she's the only... I know she's not the only actor from the original series who then comes back is with a different character. I believe there's somebody in the original series who comes back and plays a Romulan, a recurring Romulan a couple of times.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple others. But yeah, she's one of the big ones. Obviously, she get like a whole season on TNG. Down with the Pulaski haters. I love her. I think she's great.
Yeah.
I know why she gets the hate, but I think she actually has a character arc in TNG.
Yeah. I think the reason I didn't was most of my TNG of recent years has been season 3 to 7. I very rarely go back to seasons 1 and 2. I know there's some amazing episodes, but for me, season 2 is probably one of my least watched.
Actually, when you watch Star Trek, I know obviously we're doing this podcast, we're watching kind of whatever comes up, but normally, you feel like watching a bit of Star Trek. Do you just stick on a random one episode, or do you do like rewatches or whole shows or a season?
I tend to watch the episodes that have stuck out for me from the past. Like, if I'm watching season 3, I tend to go to yesterday's Enterprise.
So you go for the highlights.
I go for the highlights, and I tend to skip some probably amazing episodes, but I go for the ones that a majority of people agree are the sort of the pinnacle episodes of TNG. And I guess I miss out in some ways because there are, even on the bad episodes, there are some amazing parts. Maybe not the whole package, but there is still nice parts. But yeah, that's how I tend to do it.
Well, it's different for me. I tend to watch, either do a complete rewatch or I'll watch a season or something. So yeah, if you watch season 2 beginning to end, you do get a Dr. Pulaski story arc, as she comes in and she's very antagonistic, especially against Data, and she doesn't like him, she doesn't get it. But by the end, you sort of see how she learns to understand who he is, what he is, and all the rest of it. And it's a really nice transformation, and you kind of wonder where it would have gone if she had stuck around for all the other seasons without. Obviously, Gates McFadden and Beverly Crusher is amazing as well, but one can imagine. So yeah, that's where I want to start us with. Dr. Pulaski, or Dr. Jones in this case. So I don't know how familiar you are with the original series, but it looks like it does. It's very much of the 60s, and it sounds like the 60s. I know when I was watching, you mentioned the theme song is different to what we watched last week with Enterprise. Yeah, it is.
We've gone from "It's been a long time" to I was like, it's so different.
I mean, it's still got singing. I don't know if it's quite lyrics, but it's got voice. Whereas like a lot of the other shows, they don't. Yeah, I like the Enterprise goes whoosh. Yeah. It sort of whooshes by the screen. I think it's great. I love it.
No, I like the whole look of it. I think the captain's chair looks like the most uncomfortable looking chair. It's all angles and sharp, pointy corners. Yeah. There's a nice leather cushion I saw on there as well. So a bit of.
It's all like the other like bridge chairs to me, which look quite uncomfortable. They just look like something you would see in like a school cafeteria.
Yeah.
Or like it's like a waiting room or something, like a doctor's surgery. Those ones look the most uncomfortable. But yeah, I like the original series because some of the sets look really good. Like the bridge looks amazing, but a lot of the rooms do feel quite compact, like quite a small ship, until you get to engineering, and it's this huge open room, and there's consoles on the walls, and there's a small console in the middle, and at the back you see like what I assume is the warp core glowing away. But it's got a lot of open space, and it doesn't quite. I think that's my least favourite set of the original series is the engineering set.
Yeah.
No more on that region.
No.
I do like the original series because they have like weird lighting on some of the walls. Like some of the walls like purple or green, and
it's good, but why?
Yeah, why? It must have been like an old TV thing. It may stand out more, make it look more sci-fi. I don't know. When we finished watching the episode, I stuck on the original trailer, which hadn't been remastered.
Yeah.
And you can just tell, like, if that's what it looked like, it did look quite muted in its colours, and its and some of the special effects were not as good.
And also the lighting nowadays, you'd be hard pressed to find a shadow out of place.
Yeah.
But I noticed there was one scene in that episode where there was just like shadows in abundance and someone's messed around with lighting in my own recording of things in the past. It's like, I know how hard it is to get it out, but in most professional films and episodes, you don't see it. But back in those days, of course.
Well, I don't know, like, if obviously there was less TV in the 60s. There was less channels. So I assume getting on TV meant you were a serious show. However, even within that world, I assume there were low-budget productions and high-budget productions. I don't know where Star Trek sits. If it's a low-budget production, then that kind of makes sense if it's a bit more amateur, but I have no idea if it wasn't. Maybe that was like, this is one of the most high-budget shows on TV at the moment.
It was just that one scene, but everything else, fine.
Yeah, I like old, not just Star Trek, but I like old films and TV. I do quite like old movies. And I love that, I don't know what it's called, it must have a name, where just like the actors' eyes are lit up. It's just like, it's sort of like showing focus on that like expression and their emotion. Like, I love that effect. I don't know what it's called, but I really like that in old TV and film.
Because there are a lot of certain special kind of angles in this episode, weren't there? Like when you're seeing it through the character's eyes, and it's almost like warped vision.
Kind of like I don't think it's quite like a fisheye lens, but it was kind of like, you're right, it was like a distorted, like Oh, yeah.
You're sort of almost seeing it through.
Neither of us know filmography at all. So we're trying to, yeah.
Like Fisheye, but not.
Yeah, it was. It was kind of like it was kind of like zoomed out a little bit.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone at home, if you have actually watched the episode, you know what we're talking about. If you haven't watched the episode, I'm sorry for our ramblings. But yeah, and there was all of that little weird bits, like, when Spock put on his visor, and you can just see like a red film being put over the camera lens.
It's like, yeah, it reminded me of 3D glasses, like, but that sort of.
It's basically
lens,
that. Yeah, I think it's great. I love rewatching the original series because it does look crap. It does look a bit cheesy, especially by modern standards. Once you get past that, and once you get into the stories and the actors and what's going on, it's actually really good. And the original series can really come out and bring out some some really big punchy episodes.
Part of its charm, isn't it?
It's got a lot of charm. I mean, there are a lot of bad episodes in the original series. I don't know where this one sits in terms of like how good it is, but I know I think this is one of the more iconic episodes. Spock in that visor, I think, is quite an iconic look. Like the Medusan as well, Koloth, who is just a light show.
Yeah.
It's like flashy lights.
A bread bin that opens slowly.
Yeah, because, I don't know how else you would represent, like, pure ugliness.
No. Yeah, I know. I thought it was quite a good design because it looked so... I don't know, it's so simple.
So simple.
And then the little flap slowly opens. Oh my god, what's it going to show? And then the effects when they did that, I don't know if it's just in a remastered or if it was back in the original version when there was like the green flashing lights and the little things being shown on screen, like the little dots and bubbles and... Yeah,
it's kind of like a static, like a very colourful static.
I thought that sort of showed well, what they're experiencing when they saw it. So good job, Star Trek. Yeah,
you're right. Like that very simple box. It was simple. It kind of worked. Same like Spock's visor. It did look crap. It looked quite cheaply made.
Yes.
But it kind of fits that charm.
But if it's effective,
really worked.
If it works, maybe they, you don't have to work on a design that's perfect. It's,
And I've not watched the original series in quite a while. I don't know what I've watched more. If I've watched the original TV series more or the original movies more, it might be about the same. But I think, I know, I've seen William Shatner more in his older age. So the movies plus what he's done in his later life.
Yeah.
Appearances and other shows he's done and stuff. And in his later life, he's a bit more rotund, if we be polite. He's a bit, he's filled out as, people do. So when I watched this episode for the first time, and he first comes, I was like, oh yeah, he's actually quite fit and quite slim.
Yeah.
On the original series.
Yeah.
He looks alright. It kind of like just threw me a little bit.
Yeah.
Of how good looking he did. Good looking he is.
And the complete way he has with people, like Rose and Thorns.
Okay. We can go there now, but I was going to come back to all like remembering Kirk's charm, which we'll say. In the beginning, during the transport scene, when Koloth and Dr. Jones first beam on, Spock, when they first sort of appear, Spock does a little eyebrow raise. He does a few actually in succession. And he almost looks a bit confused or surprised that Koloth is there in a box. I don't know what he was expecting to see. Surely he would know how this Medusan travels, and he's going to come in a box that looks exactly like this. They have a lot of other security protocols going on, like they clear all the decks and stuff of all the crew so no one can bump into them.
Yeah.
So they've done their research, but Spock doesn't know what container he's coming in.
It's true.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a bigger container than he thought. Maybe he thought it was going to be toaster size, and it's the size of it.
Maybe.
But yeah, as you say, they would have been sent a report on what he's going to be in.
You would have thought so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on that very same point, they have to carry the box. They have to get like these magnetic clamps, this special sci-fi handle. It was looks pretty. It's a pretty cool little prop. There are all little buttons on there and stuff. But I thought, well, why hasn't his box got handles? Why?
Yeah. Or wheels. Yes, just push them along. That'd be so much more sensible. Or if not, put a skateboard under him or something. Yeah.
I just thought it was weird that they had to have a specialist bit of kit to move him.
Yeah.
Where's the hand? Like, in an emergency, surely you need to pick him up. I don't know. Or,
Yeah.
like, it's also Star Trek, we're in the future, like a little hover thing, a little...
Yeah.
A something. Dr. Jones. And I want to talk specifically just one little bit about her first. She's a telepath.
Mm.
I like to think I know Star Trek fairly well. I'm not going to say I'm an expert, anything like that. I'm not an ultra nerd, despite the fact that we're doing a podcast about it.
And you watched all the episodes.
Yeah. I was under the impression that humans were not telepathic. And she appears to have been born naturally and is telepathic. And that struck me as very weird. Now, maybe this is no longer canon or has been retconned or explained elsewhere, but I thought that was quite strange. I don't know, do you know any other telepathic humans in Star Trek?
No. Of course, we got Troy, who was half.
Yeah, she was Betazoid, wasn't she?
Yeah. She was a bit of a crap telepath, though. Not Troy, but the person in this episode. Because she's like, somebody is thinking of killing someone. Of murder, yeah. And I'm like... And first of all, you don't know who it is that's thinking it, and you don't know who the target is going to be. So maybe she's just like a very small percentage telepath, and...
I mean, but then Spock says that her telepathic abilities are better than his.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know Spock's only half Vulcan. I don't know. It kind of left me wondering quite a lot about that. And I am very interested. I'm very curious to know about if there are other human telepaths in Star Trek. But you're right, during that dinner scene, when she mentions about there's going to be a murder, I thought the episode... I couldn't remember the episode beats and the plot before I watched it. I thought the episode was going to devolve into like sort of like a noir murder mystery type thing. That's where I thought it was going to go. Yeah. And then it didn't.
It did, I know.
I was like, oh, that'd have been really cool. Like a murder mystery. And obviously it was the random guy in the dinner. It wasn't the main... Obviously it's not the main cast.
Yeah.
Kirk isn't thinking of killing somebody.
No, or like Spock's got jealous about, something. I thought, no, it's going to be the one guy that's sticking out.
It's Larry over there.
I know. Definitely obvious. You don't need to be a telepath to work that out.
I kind of want to do this now. And it's kind of like the main theme of the episode. So these thoughts and conversation may sort of jump around a little bit. But the main thing of the episode is sort of grappling with the idea of beauty and ugliness and all of that. It sort of first starts out in the dinner scene when they're all, just chatting away about what she's going to be doing and her work and stuff. And all the men around the table are just gushing over her. Oh, the most loveliest woman to ever be on a starship. And, and when she goes to leave, they're all offering to take her back to her room. Yeah. And I just come on, guys. I mean, what, have you never seen a woman before? What is this?
Because I thought she was she couldn't have sent stronger signals that she wasn't interested if she, could try. Just take the subtle signs that she's, into Colossus more, for one thing, and also doesn't seem interested in pursuing anything. So...
No, yeah, you're right. It's almost like they all assume that, here's this single woman, she must want a man. Yeah. It's going to be me, of course. It is almost like you've got, 4 or 5 roosters in a room with one chick.
It's like that, yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of infuriating, that scene, actually, in some ways, just of, those assumptions all those men were making. Yeah. Oh, she must be receptive of our flirting and our charm. That sort of leads into, after the dinner scene, when everyone's left and she's back in her room, and then Larry Maverick, I think his name is? Maverick? Larry. He comes to her room, and it's quite an uncomfortable conversation. Yeah. He's been rejected several times up to this point, but he can't accept that she would want anything other than human man, obviously, and let alone anything other than him. Not as if there's other choice that she could have.
He's not taking it well, is he? Because
he really doesn't.
She's did he say at one point, how could you do this or something like that to the worst extent?
Putting on her.
Yeah, it's just chill out. Just
it reminded me quite a lot of, I don't know if you're familiar with the incel kind of movement of fairly recent years. He struck me as that kind of guy. Yes. Sort of blaming his lack of love life and, romantic partners.
On her.
It's her fault.
Her fault.
Yeah. I was like, that's a dangerous man, my friend. That's not healthy. He needs to see some therapy about that.
He does, yes.
Kisses her, is like, can Kolos give you this? And it's just,
that
it's just
line.
bad.
It's like, can Kolos give you this?
And he comes away and she's just deadpan.
And it's like the worst kiss. It's like, there's no emotion in it at all. She's like, just completely, coy fish, ignoring him.
So kind of like with that scene, I think we're sort of back in the dinner scene, and they're talking about beauty and ugly and all this kind of stuff. What is good must also be beautiful. Held by ugliness, they're attracted to beauty. Kirk says it's like he says it's their last prejudice. I'm like, I suppose that yes, humans are attracted to things which look good, obviously, but none of them could seem to quite grasp there's more to life than beauty.
Yes.
I can't quite. I feel like these characters should be smarter than that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
If there's one thing that I felt lacked the most in this episode, it was any romance thought to the script. Like it was written as, we are men. This woman will be interested. We will do everything we can. I don't know. It just whereas it would have been nice if maybe she was a little bit like,
maybe it would have been better if Kolos had been more of a character, because he wasn't really a character in the episode. He was just sort of there.
Yeah.
He was in with Spock a little bit later on.
Yeah.
But if we could have actually have seen his beauty, his inner beauty, that might have helped with this episode.
Yeah, because we couldn't really relate. It's like, why is she going for the green light bread box?
Yeah. And in some ways, okay, I love the twist that she's blind. I think that was amazing. That was
very
really
well
good.
done.
I love that.
Yeah.
However, I don't know if you felt this. I felt it almost lessened a little bit her motives for being with Kolos. Like, because she's blind, she can be with this ugly creature. If she wasn't blind and still a telepath, would she still want that assignment?
Yeah, good point.
Or would she sort of fall into those sort of traditional, oh no, I will seek out beauty, and I am beautiful, I will seek out a beautiful man. Do you know what I mean?
I think she, by the sounds of it, she assumed that people would judge her for her blindness.
Yes.
Which, by the way the men were acting on the ship, you could fully imagine they probably would judge her for the blindness, because they were just so shallow in this episode. So maybe she has got a point, and going with Carlos was... That's a
good point. And on this rewatch you just did now, I would quickly tap on another quick note about pity and disabilities. And you're right, she thinks that she'd be pitied because she's blind. That's why she keeps it a secret. In the 60s, I'm going to make an assumption here, that disabilities were treated and perceived differently than they are now in the 21st century. And maybe people with disabilities were pitied more than they are now. I'm not saying people with disabilities aren't pitied and aren't sort of get odd eye looks and weird questions and are discriminated against. Totally, definitely happens now still. But I do feel like attitudes have changed since the 60s to now. So I wonder if that's like a style of a time when it was written kind of thing.
Possibly, yeah.
And then by that same logic, I was thinking as well, if it was more prejudiced then against disabilities and it's a bit less now, by Star Trek's logic, it should be better and resolved by the 23rd century.
Yes.
Star Trek is supposed to be this evolved utopian society. And I know Kirk says, it's their last prejudice, but why should it be? Surely disability should be a very accepted thing.
Yeah, but the Disability Acts of, there's like 19...
Oh, yeah.
There's lots of different ones that were brought in with legislation.
Yeah.
So I guess before that, obviously there would have been understanding, but a bit less.
Yeah,
a bit less than what we have today about how to.
Yeah, what you're saying is employers can't and businesses can't discriminate against disabilities.
Yeah, so there might have been more discrimination back in those days.
I'm sure there was, and I'm sure it still happens today. If you apply for a job and you go to a job and you turn up in a wheelchair, person interviewing you may make some assumptions.
Yes, and
that may mean you don't get the job. Even if they don't say that's why you don't get a job. It's really hard to police that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And, I know disabled people and, the other protected characteristics like, race and gender and age and all that kind of thing, they also can play a part in people's lives. It's definitely a thing. I kind of felt that, I know it was almost kind of like the vice of the episode, of that having that that prejudice, but it did strike me as weird that I thought Star Trek should not have that prejudice.
Yeah.
Especially because we get TNG, and there's Geordi, his visor, and it's,
Yeah.
Is there ever an episode where Geordi is sort of pushed down because he's blind? I know there's episodes where like it becomes an issue because he loses his visor. I remember an episode where he's in sickbay and Crusher is doing like some tests on his eyes, and she's like, "Oh, there's like some new advancements in prosthetics or this technique," and he's like, "But I still won't get my full vision," so he's like, "I'll stick with a visor," sort of thing.
Yeah. No, I don't think there is an episode where he's actually even underhandedly mocked. He's accepted for who he is and not pitied, which is
which is what you expect out of Star Trek.
Yeah. But then again, his vision may be better in some ways than people.
Well, yeah, it is. Yeah. But I think it's definitely better, but it's not the same. A little later on, when Kirk takes Dr. Jones to the Arboretum to show the flowers. I don't know, just before that, when that idea gets floated on the bridge, like, they have to distract her, it just gleams across Kirk's face. Oh, I can do that.
Yes.
And he's like, this is what I can do. You do the science stuff. You do the medical stuff. I will do the lady stuff. It's like, okay, Kirk. It's like, obviously no woman could resist Captain James T. Kirk. But it was also a bit of an awkward scene, just where it was kind of funny, like to see Kirk so poorly flirt.
It was a bit cringe.
It was a very cringe, and he says a couple of things which stuck out to me. He says, "Someday you'll want human love and companionship." I'm like, will she? Like, she doesn't,
Yeah, she seems quite set in her
beliefs. There are some people who don't want relationships, and that's fine. And he also says, "What about love? You're young, attractive." Again, like, come on.
No.
How could you resist Captain Kirk? And he's like, oh man. Yeah, it really gets me, like, those scenes.
It was a good scene. It was needed,
fun.
But it was also quite funny to watch.
She does... I kind of wish she gave back a bit more, if she sort of, like, retorted more, sort of pushed back on these advances.
Yeah.
But she does have one very good one. When Kirk's just about to go in for a kiss, she pulls back and she goes, "I can see you're a complicated man, Captain."
Yeah.
Yeah, you go, girl. You mic drop. And you can just know that Kirk was like, it's like through the heart.
I know.
That was a good one.
Because, you don't see much of that side of her character. She doesn't really joke too much. She doesn't smile or laugh or make puns or anything like that. So that was the one time she actually, she did. She
gave a bit of a sarcastic response, and it worked really well. Okay, I think that's all I've got. I think mostly on that sort of beauty and that kind of, like, that is kind of the main theme. Like, there is more to life than just beautiful things, and there is beauty in things which are not physically attractive.
Yeah.
But all I got out of the episode was that all the men on the starship couldn't see that. None of them could. They're all idiots.
Yeah.
And I'm still not sure at the end they learned that lesson. I don't think they quite got it.
No, I feel the same way. It's like there were glimmers that they might understand, but in the end,
Larry Marvick and his plan to kill the ambassador, to assassinate, a crime of passion, a crime of love. He obviously thought about it a little bit. He thought about it at the dinner scene, and then a bit later on as well. There's a bit of time. I had a little bit of time to think about it. You would assume he's thought about it previously.
Yes.
This is preemptive. I'm going to say. His plan sucks.
Yeah.
His plan is awful. It's like, I'm going to walk in the room with the ugly man monster who will drive me insane, and just hope he doesn't open the box and drive me insane.
Yeah.
And then that happens, and he's almost surprised.
Yeah.
I don't know what the plan was.
I know.
A blindfold, cover your eyes.
Yeah.
Anything
would be better than
throw
what
a
he
grenade in there. I don't know. So,
yeah.
Like, there has to have been a better way.
Definitely,
to execute that plan other than just walk in the room, stand there for a few seconds, and get blinded. But
I guess he was blinded by love, and he thought, I'll do anything, and maybe she'll have, take pity on me because I'm now insane. Maybe that's what his plan was.
Maybe he really is giving those incel vibes. So Larry's gone crazy, and he goes down to engineering. And previously, Scotty said, "Oh, come down to engineering. You can fly the ship," because he designed the Enterprise, or this Enterprise. So Scotty's obviously really keen to, show me what you got, kind of thing. But he comes down there, and Scotty's like, "Take it away."
Yeah.
Like, No security protocols.
No.
Just nothing. Just here's unrestricted access to the Enterprise, flagship of the Federation. Go at it.
Yeah, it's so funny because he just starts. Is that when the Enterprise veers like to the right?
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that's some control system they got there where there's like no precautions and no like secondary.
And it's not even like Scotty goes engineering room to bridge, just going to transfer some controls, temperature, nothing.
Yeah.
No one is insane. But after that, we do get an excellent fight scene.
I thought it was really good for the 60s and for other fight scenes I've seen from the Star Trek era. Like, I believe there's... What is it someone did once? It's on this planet and it's one of the original Star Trek episodes and there's this big dinosaur-like monster. The Gorn.
Yes.
And they do this fight scene that happens. I thought it was awful.
Yeah.
But this one held up. I thought
it's. I mean, we get some good double punching in there.
Yeah.
And like you can just push guys away, and the red coats just fall down. It's great.
Yeah.
I love it. And the music.
And there's also a jump from one of the guys on. That's
an actual stunt. Yeah. And like the music's going over, there's like cymbals and jazz instruments. It's fantastic. I love it. It's great. Same with later on the fight scene on the bridge. Great. Love it when Spock's going crazy. I love it. But I also like it's remind me of why Kirk is a great captain, or why I like him as a captain. One of his like defining features is he is first in the action. He was like jumping in there, he's getting involved, he's fighting away, and constant theme throughout the original series, Kirk is like he's the fighting captain, kind of more so than even like Cisco and stuff. Whereas like Picard will throw a punch, but he's let Riker and Worf go first. Do you know what I mean? Like he's the diplomat. Kirk is
action.
He will get his shirt torn off and get involved.
Yeah.
He'll fight a Gorn. Yeah, so I love that. It was great. Great scene.
The measurement scene where she's like looks and she says, "Can you do this?" And she's like, "We are 1 meter 4 inches from the door." She is not. She's at least 2 meters. And also, like, what special ability is that to be able to judge the?
It reminded me. Have you seen The Great Escape?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, when the guy goes blind and he's worried about him being left behind.
Yeah.
He's like, I can see there's a bit of cheese over there on the floor, and it's he's measured it out beforehand. Yeah. It's basically that.
Yeah.
And she's right. Like she's kind of got Geordie's visor. In a sense. So she says, I can play tennis with you, Captain Kirk, and I could probably beat you. So yeah, she has got this aid, which in some ways makes her vision better.
Yeah, which is fair enough.
Yeah, great scene, but apparently you can't fly a starship with that.
No. I just thought it was good, very specific measurements as well, which maybe the fact that this guy that was flirting with her and she could have been like, just look at him and be like, 3 inches, and then like he completely like leaves her alone.
That's amazing.
Yes, I have a minimum requirement, and you don't meet it, and then he would have been like, "Oh, sorry," and then that would have ended it instead of going insane.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you just said, "Yeah, no, you're just too small."
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You're right. I mean, like, because in like your day-to-day life, I wouldn't want to know like how far exactly something is away. I don't need that precision in my life. I don't. Oh, it's about a meter away. That's fine. I don't need that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good scene. I like that when that reveal when she's blind and Spock waves his hand in front of her, and I really like how Bones knew that she was blind and didn't tell anyone. I was like, good doctor. That's what we want from a doctor. Yeah, that's great. Love that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what a great scene. When they've gone to the ship's whooshed away, and it's like cut to an ad break, and it comes back, and we come back to a captain's log supplemental. And normally, I'm fairly certain Kirk does his captain's log at his captain's check, presses a button, does the log, button off, and when the scene opens, captain's log's going, and he's at his chair. And in the captain's log, he explains how they got lost and where they are. End captain's log. He then gets out of his chair, walks over to Spock and asks him, "Where are we? How do we get out of here?"
Yeah.
and then Bone comes in, does his medical report, and then Kirk asks Spock again, "Where are we?
Yeah.
Have you got a position report?" And Spock's like, "No, Jim, I don't. There's nothing. I got no reference." cracked me up, that did. I thought it was great. Kirk just cannot comprehend. He really isn't the science captain.
No.
That's Janeway, no. Kirk is the action guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, stick a Romulan bird of prey in front of him. Romulan warbird in front of him and he's fine.
He'll be fine,
Yeah. Okay, so we're at the end. Kolos and Spock have become one.
Yes.
They are one man. I assume Kolos is a male character, but they are one man.
Yeah.
I like when Spock comes out and he's got this joint personality and he goes, James Kirk, our friend and colleague of many years, turns to Bones. Ah, Bones. Also a colleague of many years.
I'm trying to notice that.
I was like, that's an intentional slide.
Yeah.
I assume you know that Spock and Bones, they
are
are friends,
Yeah.
but they're like reluctant friends.
Yeah.
They're like, they wouldn't admit they're friends, but they really are friends. I thought that was really good.
I also thought the acting was good in that scene with Leonard Nimoy.
yeah.
Just because you see a side of him you don't see when he's playing Spock, do you? He's smiling more. He's, the voice, everything is just changed and different. So yeah,
it must be really fun for actors when they do that, like Leonard Nimoy and Brent Spiner. Like, whenever Data got emotion. Do you remember that scene where Q makes Data laugh for a few seconds?
Yeah.
And it must be so much fun for an actor who has to play a very stoic character. They can let up. Or like Tuvok, when he occasionally loses control or something. Must be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
To break that mold. Okay, two final notes. One's very small. Actually, they're both very small. At the very end, they drop off Kolos and Miranda Jones to another little ship. Cool little ship, that little model, little tiny little weird ball thing, unique design. I liked it. It was cool.
Yeah.
And the very fun thing I have is when Kirk is saying goodbye to Jones, and he gives her a rose, and she asks about, or has it got thorns on? And he says, "I never met a rose that didn't."
Yes.
I'm telling you, I swooned at that one. That was a good line.
Yeah.
That was smooth.
No, I agree.
That when I think of Kirk flirting, that's what I think of.
Yeah.
That was a good. If he started with that one back at the dinner scene, he might have got somewhere.
I bet he's kicking himself for that because he could have pulled straight away.
Yeah. That was great. Okay, that was it. Have you got anything else you want to bring up?
That's pretty much covered it. Yeah.
Fantastic. What a fun episode.
It was good.
I like the original series because it's fun. Do you want to take us into the wrap up, into the ratings?
For the rating of the episode, I really enjoyed it. It's nice to see an episode that is as early as it was, because I'm used to watching, obviously, TNG, Voyager DS9, and more recently, Enterprise. So I'm going to give this episode, bearing in mind and making some allowances for some of the acting and lighting, and shadows and quality and everything, but that's also part of its charm. I'm going to give it a 7.5.
7.5, good score, nice and high, pretty decent episode. I think I kind of land in the same kind of boat as you. Had a lot of fun with this episode. I really enjoyed the original series, and I think I'm going to go in a touch higher. I'm going to go a 7.9.
Good score.
Had a lot of fun with it. It was just fun, for all its faults. Now, we need to check what it actually got on IMDb. It actually got a 6.9.
Did it?
It did.
That's lower than I expected.
Me too. I'm curious why that would be. Because I thought this was quite like an iconic episode of Star Trek. Maybe it's all that sexism in the episode.
Could be. It hasn't aged well.
Not from like a modern sensibilities kind of perspective. Though I would like to think this is also distasteful to women back in the 60s as well. I would like to think that people were calling out this kind of stuff then, but even taking that into account, I still enjoyed it. Maybe it's because it's the first original series we've had on this podcast. I just had a blast watching. I had so much fun being in that old world, as it were.
Me too.
The next thing we need to do is select an episode for us to watch next time. The way we do it is we choose a show first, then we choose the series, then we choose the episode within that show. If we get a two-parter, we will watch two-parters. If we get a whole long story arc, like something out of Discovery or Picard, then we will not watch the whole arc. If we somehow get the same episode, we'll flip a coin, go up or down. The show that we have just watched, we can't watch again directly afterwards. So we've just spoke about the original series. We can't watch original series again next time. But after that, it can come back in. And for our seasons of Warp Factor Unknown, which are 10 episodes long, we only allow each show to come up twice. Original series comes up twice. That's it. It gets 2 chances in our slot of 10. But now, Tom, if you could rollers, spinners, selectors, an episode.
I will get out the random episode generator application and spin. Here we go. The series we have selected is Voyager.
Excellent. I love Voyager. I love talking about Voyager.
A good Voyager episode.
And we have had Voyager on the podcast before, but it was a bonus episode. Looking forward to talking about Voyager with you. I don't really mind what season we get, though. So
the season we get, let me just do my random number generator. Season 6.
Season 6.
Towards the tail end of the Voyager.
Yeah, the end of. So maybe we'll get, I always say this, maybe we'll get Janeway tangling with the Borg. I love those episodes. How many episodes are in season 6? You're always very good at knowing
I believe 24.
So there are 26 episodes in Voyager. Okay, cool. Do you want to spinners, selectors, an episode?
Yes. Okay, so here is the episode generator. So the episode we have chosen on this is 16.
Ooh, 16. No idea what that is.
No.
Let's find out.
Look.
Collective. I don't remember that one, obviously, because I'm awful at the names, but
Sounds very Borgish.
It does sound Borgish. Maybe it's a Borg one. Let's find a synopsis. Voyager finds a Borg cube controlled by assimilated children who have been separated from the collective mind. I do remember this one, I think. I know who the children are. We get it introduces Ep5 and some other kids who I'm assuming are important. Yeah, I remember Ep5 being cool in Voyager. So we get them. Cool, yeah.
Well, I've never seen this episode, so I look forward to it as well.
So yeah, everyone, please go away and... Sorry. Everyone go...
There goes our subscribers.
Yeah. So please, everyone, hopefully you watch an episode along with us at Star Trek Voyager Season 6, Episode 16, The Collective. Yes, I'm looking forward to talking about that.
Absolutely.
I'm sure.
Voyager.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to Warp Factor Unknown. I've been your host, Dan, and I've been joined by my co-host, Tom.
Thanks, everyone.
Today we talked about Star Trek, the original series, Season 3, Episode 5, Is There in Truth No Beauty? Join us next time as we take another deep dive into the Star Trek universe as we discuss the episode from Star Trek Voyager, The Collective. Until then, thank you for your continued support. If you would like to contact us, please email us at warpfactorunknown@outlook.com. That again is warpfactorunknown@outlook.com. The music we use for this podcast is called Starfleet Command and it's by Jeff Harvey. You can find more of his work on pixabay.com.